In 2021, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens now has the passing ability to be a championship type of quarterback. Now, when I said in my video from 2019 that Lamar Jackson can't throw outside the numbers, that was true at the time. And it's been true for most of his career up until the last few games thus far in the 2021 season. It started with that Detroit game. That was a good game. That was the best I ever seen him throw the ball. Point blank, period. He was getting the ball over top of corners, but before the safety could get over tight windows, throwing it along the sidelines to receivers falling out of bounds. I seen him make good throws across the field where he's able to lead his receiver and they could catch it in stride. I seen him not force it to the tight end. Let them find a soft spot in the zone, since teams like to play quite a bit of zone against Lamar, so they can face him to see if he runs. He was able to make that happen, able to split the safeties, middle of the field in the cover two variations. So yeah, he's making the appropriate throws out there that expect the quarterback to make a championship type of quarterback. Obviously, what would separate him at this point from someone winning probably comes down to mistakes or trying to force something or making bad, mental decisions. Lamar, he makes fairly decent decisions, and he always has, even when he couldn't throw it as well as he has now, be it from the Detroit game, the Denver game, and the most recent game, second half against the Colts, and into overtime. So yeah, Lamar Jackson has arrived as a passer. I said what he couldn't do at that time. I said, hey, he could switch it up, change it around, but I think he needs to work on his passing, and he should have been a rolling guy and not necessarily a starting quarterback. I felt we've had enough weapons to win, to get far in the playoffs, to get to AFC championship games. Now, you can always question the line's ability and saying, well, you can't win with anybody else because the line isn't as good. But since Lamar Jackson has a unique running ability for the quarterback position that we haven't seen as prolific since Michael Vick, and actually probably more prolific than Michael Vick at this period of time, they say, well, we need him because of the line. And then we had people back in 2019, etc., when he's when MVP saying, oh, well, we got an extra blocker because you can run, and talking all this read option nonsense. Well, guess what? That's not the reality of the situation. Right now, yeah, we had a we have some of those type of plays out there, but he's in the pocket, taking his drop back, stepping up in the pocket, making that throw. That's how you win championship football. That's the way the game is set up to win. The quarterback needs to be a pretty good passer. And what separates people from winning championships, okay, can you make the right play at the right time, make the right decision at the right time, and do you at least have the ability to make all the throws? Now, I've seen Lamar Jackson make all the throws in the Detroit game. I see him essentially do it for the next two games, even though you could say he wasn't as consistent maybe in the Denver game. Came on a little bit later in this Colts game, but once he got it going, he got it going. You could say worry about turnovers here and there, maybe fumbles or something else, or who make a bad throw here and there. But that happens. But he's actually arrived where I can trust him to make that throw to someone going out of bounds, that out route, because it seems like he has a little more power in his throws, a little more touch in his throws. He has a better base where he can throw the ball consistently. And once you're able to throw it consistently, even if you throw it consistently wrong, you know how to make an adjustment so you can throw it consistently right. And, that's why I like what I'm seeing from Lamar thus far as a passer, and I feel like he has the makings of a championship quarterback. I'm starting to like him more because your job as a quarterback, first and foremost, is to get the ball into play, get to your receivers, and whatever else you do after that is whatever. Because you just need to take advantage of the running lanes. Because, even a slow somebody like Tom Brady, if everybody's covered, he can pick up a few yards running. And obviously with Lamar Jackson, he can really make it happen. And you're going to have design runs for Lamar Jackson. But the point is, your job is quarterback. And the way the game is set up all these years, and now more than ever, the quarterback must throw the ball down the field to get the ball in play. Period. Because even 2021, summertime, I looked at an article, Mike Preston, Lamar Jackson was not the best thrower during practice or during training camp. It was Trace McSorley, and then it was Tyler Huntley. And we saw how Tyler Huntley was doing in the preseason games. And I'm glad I made this video then, because I made this video preseason. In the preseason, I'm like, hey, Tyler Huntley should be the starter. I don't care what Lamar Jackson has done, because Tyler Huntley, he has enough speed, and if a man like in Tyler Huntley can make the throws that I haven't seen Lamar Jackson make, that guy needs to be in the game. He needs to be the starting quarterback, making those throws to receivers, outside the numbers, spreading the ball around, doing, operating like that. Now, Lamar Jackson has arrived. In my opinion, we've seen him put together streaks of several games, so we know he has the physical ability to do it now, the muscle memory to do it now. And as long as he keeps his legs to keep the extra element there for that added bonus of going when things break down, or also design runs just to make sure the defense stays disciplined. Lamar Jackson is even better quarterback now. In my opinion, I don't think he was that good to MVP. Yeah, I just think he had a production and certain numbers and people wowed. But I think he's a better quarterback right now than he's ever been. He may not win the MVP this season. It depends on what other people are doing, but he stepped up enough as a passer to get the Ravens to a good spot and not necessarily be a liability in the passing game. Because a lot of times people still blame the receivers. They're like, no, it's kind of Lamar Jackson's fault. Not necessarily making the right reads, not going through all his progressions, locking in on the tight ends, throwing it to break coverage, and just throwing it to areas of the field based on like, hey, you know what? My tight end's big. He has a big catch radius. He can get it done. And yes, it is good to make use of your tight ends. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's great in the middle of the field, great in the red zone type of area, and even great for mismatches. But guess what? You have receivers out there. You want to spread the ball around because you have people not wanting to come to play for the Ravens because they say, hey, your receivers are just out there blocking or running routes just to be running routes, and you so focused on the tight end that you throw it in the bracket coverage and just depend on his catch radius. Just throw it up there and get a catch radius. But now that the way Lamar Jackson is playing, he can get his tight ends and they can get that yards after the catch now. Because it's not always tight ends being surrounded by people or everyone, come rushing to the tight end immediately. They still worried about the other receivers, so they got to respect them more since Lamar's getting the ball out there to him. So this is what I've been talking about. I'm glad to see it. And I'm coming around on Team Lamar. At this point, I'm starting to feel like I've seen it, and his decision making has been, fairly good. At least, not having a lot of throwing interceptions and things of that nature. He may fumble a little bit too much, but I think he's coming around. He'll get better, and I feel a lot of people are anticipating things. But I'm like, guess what? At the pro level, it's not about saying, oh well, he'll get better. No. You got people, dedicated staff. You're full time. You're no longer a student. You're no longer playing in a lower league where you might have a second job. Like, this is pretty much nowadays when people make enough money, that's your full time job. So you can have people around you. I think Lamar's gotten around some of the people that Tom Brady might have worked with to get his passing on point. So that's good. So I think he's the best he's ever been right now. As long as he stays healthy and other things go according to plan, he should at least get you to an AFC championship game at some point. It may not be this year, depending on other factors, but he definitely has the tools to get it done. We've seen it. So as long as he can stay consistent, and maybe he won't be consistent this season, I don't know. But we've seen him come back from deficits like against this Colts. So yeah, I like his direction. I'm coming around to Lamar Jackson, but I wasn't going to be the first one. Oh, he's great and jumping on his bandwagon and all this read option and extra blockers and no one knows what this is. Like, guess what? Football's been around for a long time. People ran a lot of plays. Yes, that's important, but passing at the quarterback position is your primary job. And now more than ever, so. And that running is an added bonus. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson can throw outside the numbers now. 2021, I made the other video a couple years back, but I get people want to support him, but hey, I need to see something. And they weren't even seeing it in practice. They weren't seeing it in the training camp. He just came on the last few weeks. But he was able to do it several weeks in a row. So like, okay, he's getting it now. He might be consistently wrong, but now he's more like consistently right. So I need to see something. Now I'm seeing it. The running ability's going to be there. Okay, Lamar. You pull me to the fan side. I'm not as critical of him anymore. I see what he's doing. 'Cause like I said, I wouldn't blame those receivers like that. But I did blame him in that Denver game most recently, but he was throwing it well, and they were just dropping balls or having some mishaps. And that happens from time to time. But right now, I'm not blaming Lamar. I like the way he's throwing the ball. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Lamar Jackson can make all the throws in the NFL. He's able to make it at a high enough clip where he can be a championship quarterback. Some people say he was inconsistent before, but I don't even feel like he was really using all the field. So if he was inconsistent throwing the ball, he was throwing it on limited routes. And some people say the play calling of a Greg Roman, but guess what? If I call up certain plays and you don't throw the ball in that direction, what was the point of me calling those plays when you ain't hitting the open guy? Or if you messing up bad, throwing it outside of numbers. But guess what? You call a few every so often, call a few this game, it's working. You keep going back and keep going back, keep going back. Said, okay, he's arrived. Now the playbook has expanded. So yeah, that's a take. Lamar Jackson, I see that as he arrived. And I feel that the Ravens, they got something good. So credit to Ozzie Newsome, but Ozzie Newsome always see it as a project. I just wasn't ready to have him on the field. Regardless of MVP, like, you know what? Let Tyler Huntley be the starter for 2021 so he can make those throws. Let Lamar roll in. I know this thing's crazy. And let him keep working in practice. Let him work with somebody and make a few throws during the game until he's able to get it consistently. But, you know, they kept believing in him, and that's cool. Maybe they had offensive line problems, and I feel like sometimes the Ravens were using Lamar to sell jerseys instead of making sure he can make these throws that they need to be making. And you can say maybe didn't have certain type of training before he'd be at high school or college because he was such a great athlete. They're like, oh, whatever, let's make this happen this way and just roll with that. But the NFL level, like, okay, let's work with you. Roll you in a little bit since we know you have this running talent, this other abilities, but I don't think you can be the full-time starter until you're able to make the throws. And it's clicked for Lamar in the Detroit game. And then he did in the Denver game. Did it in the Colts game. So if he can do it now, he's definitely the starting quarterback. And he's putting up a better season than his MVP season. That's it. Lamar Jackson is here. Iceberg Jim out. Deuces.